Professor Akpan-Obong, he was speaking the minds of most people we have seen send in their comments and views on this particular matter, saying, irrespective of political parties, looking at the percentage of people who are card-carrying members of political party, it doesn't really outnumber the bulk majority of Nigerians. They say Nigeria first.
Yep, I agree with him, Nigeria first. But I think also when he was talking, and he was calling in from Akpan-Obong, and I was just thinking about the fact that one of the pockets of violence occurred in Ikona, in Akpan-Obong State, where thugs, or people who were identified as thugs, went to some polling units and snatched the materials, election materials, and some people were beaten up. And I think, I can confirm this, but I think one person was killed in that process. So we can talk about what INEC did wrong or what INEC needs to do, but I think we should also focus on the politicians themselves. And this issue of money, paying voters, giving voters money. In one polling unit in Anambra State, I am told, the agents of a particular party was monitoring how people were voting, and so if somebody voted for his party, he would give a nod to somebody who was sitting outside, and that person was giving money to people who voted for that party. I think we really need to focus on that issue. Politicians and people running for positions, they need to understand that you cannot buy people's consciences. But then I don't really blame the people who call it the 500 naira here or the whatever, however much they were being given, because we have a process where politicians go into office to amass wealth for themselves. Politicians do not go into office to think about what they can do for Nigerians, for the society. Again, I know that's wild overgeneralization. I'm sure there are politicians there who actually have the interest of the people in mind when they go to Abuja or wherever they go to. So we also need to focus on the role of money at that level. I'm not even talking about money, money bags, pouring all kinds of money. I'm talking about buying votes. We need to talk about that as well.
Malik, let's bring you in here now. The Electoral Act talks about the amount of money that's meant to be spent for campaigning. And that's also, I guess that's also supposed to flow into the election period until the elections end. Now, for presidents, it's talking about 1 billion. For I think governors, it's about 200 million, or they're between 200 million and 500 million. Do you think there should be a monitoring system put up to ensure that the finances of the politician who's contesting are basically like monitored pre-election, during election, and post-elections?
Let me put the express provisions of the Electoral Act clear. What it insists on is that for the presidential election, no candidate shall exceed the sum of 1 billion naira. In other words, you must be able to prove that in the final analysis, this person did not spend more than this. That, for me, creates its own problem and challenges, because you can only monitor at the end of the exercise. Now, but I'm even more concerned about more fundamental challenges. The same Electoral Act in Section 150 empowers INEC to prosecute electoral offenders. If INEC has not been able to discharge that responsibility, you will agree with me that the assignment of monitoring who is spending 5 naira or 1 billion naira will be too far-fetched in the circumstance of the challenge that they have at the moment. I personally, and this is at the risk of sounding immodest, was as far back as 2012 appointed as one of the lawyers to prosecute electoral offenses. Since 2012 till today, and that is not because of Malaki, every other person who got that appointment has not had one case to prosecute. The point I'm making is that it seems to me that INEC is very, very overwhelmed with the challenge of dealing with the basics of midwifing this election, much more than monitoring who is spending 1 billion or 200,000.
But the INEC chairman was quoted as saying there were some thousands of electoral offenders from the last election.
Now, if you put it that way, then the question will go back to him, because the instance I have given is on record and is verifiable. The point I make is that apart from pockets of cases in which the state for instance, took up the matter, we have not accredited to INEC. I don't have, as a lawyer, I don't have on record cases prosecuted by INEC itself. In other words, INEC by the laws have been graduated to a prosecutorial agency, almost like what you have with EFCC, ICPC, and DSS even. So, but that has not happened, and that has given vent, that has given impetus to the level of impunity with which electoral offenders perpetrate the same thing. But let's talk about the instance that my prof gave here. If a politician would wait until he confirms that somebody had voted for his own party before he doles out the 500 naira, you will see that such a politician is also not ingenious even in his mischief. How do I mean? That 500 naira is not, it cannot induce. You waited until the person cast the vote. So for what reason are you giving him that 500 naira? Is it to thank him for voting eventually? He did not succeed in influencing the vote. I'm only trying to expose the poverty of this people.
Well, you know, for me, there are two issues there. First of all, the report that if you assume that other voters would have come out and give the testimony, oh, I voted for so-and-so party, I was given so-and-so amount of money, and that could influence, by extension, other voters. But then it also raises the question of supervising, you know, the secrecy, it would seem, in the process. And that secrecy is being violated.
Exactly.
That's a point, because at a point, you know, as one who was also in the field before we got to the studio, there were moments when we insisted that even the party agents should move some distance away from the
Which
police.
was what was shown. I mean, INEC had this very elaborate, you know, system, which we also tried to do in 3D form to show the electorate just what to expect when you get to a polling unit. And one of the points we were trying to hammer on is that when you're about to, you know, thumbprint on the ballot paper, you should ensure that there is nobody around you monitoring what it is or who it is that you're voting for. And if you do feel intimidated, you should be able to call on the security agencies or INEC officials to say, I don't feel safe, this person is monitoring me. Do you think that happened yesterday at all, or do you think that people are used to people monitoring their votes?
Now, those are trainings given to, those are admonitions, those are instructions given. On the field, in the eye of the storm, at the moment of reckoning, it is usually very difficult to see that work out that way. And I'll give you an example. When you have accreditation, which was supposed to commence by 8 o'clock and to end by 1:30, and by 3 p.m., up to 4 p.m. in some cases, accreditation has not ended. What we naturally have is the restiveness of the electorate, in which case every other person behind you is only interested in having the opportunity to at least cast his vote before these people. Again, the weather wasn't very clement yesterday. You will recall that there were, rainfall in several parts of Lagos yesterday. So at the end of the day, these are the, it's a work in progress. These are the areas that INEC will have to look into and then be able to perfect it. But on the whole, that determination of the Nigerian people to get it done one way or the other is what is...
Very quickly there, let's go, because we spoke with INEC today, and if you look at the total number of places that will be having elections in Lagos, 90 of them, 90 units. That's a combination of these local government, Alimosho, Tiosa, Koshofe, Oshodi, Solo, and of course Shomolu. We have Yomi Otaigwe, who is in one of the places talking about Koshofe. Specifically, she's around the Oroshoki area, and that's where we have the highest number of units where elections being held here in Lagos.